The blood ice bridge had never held for a girl with no scent. That was why the royal court brought Mara Veyne to the frozen ravine at dawn. The bridge stretched between two cliffs, like a wound that had learned to shine. Red ice glowed beneath its surface, veined with dark lines that pulsed slowly, almost like blood under skin. Below it waited the Moon Gorge, a bottomless split in the northern mountains where old wolves were said to hear every false oath ever sworn by their descendants. The wind rising from the gorge smelled of snow, iron, and something ancient enough to hate. No rail guarded the bridge. No rope crossed it. Only the old law. A true pack soul could walk from one side to the other and leave no crack behind. A wolf chosen by destiny would make the bridge glow silver. A liar would hear the ice whisper their name before it broke. And anyone without true pack destiny, anyone empty, scentless, unclaimed by wolf or moon, would fall before the 10th step. Mara stood at the edge with her wrists bound in pale frost chain, her bare feet already numb against the snow. Behind her the court waited, pack lords in black fur cloaks, frost priestesses with silver needles in their hair, royal guards with ice spears, noble daughters wrapped in white velvet, staring at Mara as if her emptiness might spread through the wind. At the center of them all stood Alpha King Ronan Blackthorn. He wore no crown in the mountains, only black armor, a wolf fur mantle, and a silence sharp enough to hold the whole ravine still. His dark hair was wind-torn. His eyes were silver gray, cold at first glance, but not empty. Nothing about him looked soft. Nothing about him looked uncertain. Yet his shadow did not match him. Behind Ronan, pressed against the snow like a second body, lay the shadow of a massive black wolf, chained, frozen. Its shape was enormous, larger than any living wolf in the northern packs, but it did not stand proudly behind its king. It crouched low, its forelegs bound by silver frost links, its muzzle half buried in ice, its throat marked with glowing blue cracks. Every breath it took shook faint silver light onto the snow. The court pretended not to see how much it hurt. They called it discipline. They called it royal restraint. They called it proof that King Ronan's wolf had rejected wild instinct and accepted duty. Mara had never believed that. A wolf that had chosen duty did not look like something buried alive. Beside Ronan stood Lady Varel Frostmere, the woman the council called his destined Luna. She was beautiful in the cruel northern way, pale hair braided with ice pearls, white cloak edged in silver fox, lips soft with practiced pity. At her throat burned a frost-shaped mark, pale blue and elegant, the sign the court claimed had appeared when Ronan's wolf accepted her 2 winters ago. But Ronan's wolf shadow did not look at Varel. It looked at Mara. It had been looking at Mara since the guards dragged her from the lower kitchens before sunrise. Mara had no scent. No trace of pine, snow, rain, bloodline, hearth, wolf, or pack followed her through the world. Healers could not read her. Children did not turn toward her. Dogs did not bark when she entered. Wolves did not lift their heads. In the northern packs, scent was the first proof of existence. Mara had grown up without it. That made her useful in the quiet ways people preferred not to admit. A scentless servant could pass through halls without being remembered. She could carry messages no wolf nose could track. She could clean rooms after private council meetings and hear names no one bothered to lower their voices around, because who would believe a girl the moon itself had left blank? Blank. That was what Frost Priestess Elira called her now, as she stepped forward with a silver staff tipped in red ice. Mara Veyne, the priestess announced, stands accused of crossing the royal bonding path without scent, mark, or permission. Mara looked at the bridge. Royal bonding path. That was one name for it. Punishment path was another. This morning, she had been found near the sealed arch leading to the bridge shrine, holding a strip of torn white silk. Varel's silk. The court claimed Mara had tried to sneak into the bonding rite and corrupt the Alpha King's destined path. Mara had been sent there to sweep frost from the shrine steps. She had not touched the silk. She had not even known Varel's veil had been torn until a guard struck her and forced it into her hand. Ronan's voice cut through the wind. "Who sent her to the shrine?" The question unsettled the court more than anger would have. Illyra bowed her head. A servant girl with no scent cannot be trusted to remember orders clearly. Mara laughed once. It was small, unwise, but something in her had grown too tired to stay useful. "I remember the order," she said. Every face turned toward her. Illyra's pale eyes sharpened. "Then speak carefully." Mara lifted her bound wrists. Frost chain bit into her skin, but she kept her voice even. "I was told to sweep the bridge shrine before dawn by a temple acolyte wearing your moon ice pendant." The priestess's mouth tightened. Varel sighed softly. "Poor thing. Scentless girls hear many things in empty corridors. Hunger makes memory strange." Ronan's wolf shadow growled. Not loud, not fully, but the snow beneath its chained paws trembled. Virella went still. So did Ronan. Mara looked at the wolf. For one impossible heartbeat, she felt certain it was trying to rise for her. Then the silver frost links tightened. The wolf shadow collapsed forward with a sound so low and broken that Mara's chest hurt. Ronan closed one hand into a fist. He did not look at Virella. He looked at the chains. Illyra moved quickly. "The blood ice bridge will settle the matter. If she carries no false intent, the bridge may let her take 3 steps and return. If she carries corruption, it will break. If she carries no destiny at all, the gorge will take what the moon forgot to claim." Mara stared at the bridge. 3 steps and return. Another kind of mercy that only sounded gentle from a safe distance. Ronan turned toward the priestess. "No one is sent onto the bridge for a torn veil." Illyra lowered her voice. "Your Majesty, this is not only about the veil." The wind died. Even the ravine seemed to listen. Illyra lifted a small crystal vial. Inside, it rested a single drop of frozen red light. Mara felt her throat close. She did not know what it was, but the wolf shadow did. It lunged. The chains snapped it back before it could rise. Ronan staggered, as if the pain crossed into his own body. Illyra held the vial higher. Blood ice residue was found beneath the girl's sleeping mat. Ancient bridge blood. Forbidden to all but royal trial keepers. Murmurs spread through the court. Mara shook her head slowly. "No." Varel looked at her with soft sorrow. "If someone used you, confess now. The bridge is kinder than silence." Mara almost smiled. Almost. Varel had the kind of voice that wrapped cruelty in lace and called it concern. Ronan stepped toward Mara. Illyra lifted her staff. "Your Majesty." He stopped, not because she commanded him, because the wolf shadow behind him had begun shaking violently, frost chains cutting silver light from its legs. Mara saw the trap then. If Ronan protected her, the court would say his frozen wolf still responded to scentless corruption. If he did not, she would walk the bridge alone. Either way, the frost priestess would prove something useful. Ronan's eyes met Mara's. There was suspicion there, but not only suspicion, something else. Recognition buried under ice. "Do you carry blood ice?" he asked. "No." The answer came clean. The bridge glowed faintly red. Ronan saw it. So did Illyra. The priestess's face changed for half a breath. Fear. Then she struck the ice with her staff. Let the bridge hear her. Guards seized Mara's arms and pushed her forward. Ronan moved again. Varel caught his wrist. Her frost mark flared blue. "My king," she whispered. "If you stop this, every pack will ask why your wolf still strains toward a scentless girl." His jaw hardened. Mara did not wait for him to save her. She had learned long ago that survival could not depend on someone powerful choosing courage at the exact moment she needed it. The guards shoved her onto the bridge. Her bare foot touched blood-red ice. The court held its breath. The bridge did not crack. Mara took one step. Then another. The red ice brightened beneath her feet, not breaking, not rejecting, but glowing upward like something beneath the frozen surface had opened its eyes. Behind her, a sharp crack split the dawn. Note under Mara. Behind Ronan. The Alpha King looked down. The blood ice bridge had fractured beneath his shadow. His wolf shadow dragged itself forward, chained in bleeding silver light, crawling after Mara across the ice, as if it had been waiting years for the bridge to finally remember who it chose. And from under Mara's bare feet, the frozen path whispered a name no one in the court had spoken in 20 years. The dawn wind stopped moving across the ravine. For one suspended breath, every cloak, banner, and strand of frost-white hair in the royal court went still. The blood ice bridge glowed beneath Mara's bare feet, red light rising through the ice like a heartbeat trapped under glass. It had not cracked. It had not swallowed her. It had not whispered failure. Behind her, the Alpha King's shadow was breaking. Ronan stood rigid at the bridge's edge, while the ice beneath his wolf shadow splintered in thin black lines. The fractures did not touch his boots. They spread only under the chained beast, dragging itself forward behind him, silver light bleeding from every frost link around its legs and throat. The court saw it. That was the horror. Not that the scentless girl had crossed the first steps, that the king's wolf was crawling after her. Lady Varel's hand tightened around Ronan's wrist. My king. The frost mark at her throat flared blue, sharp and bright as a winter blade. Ronan did not look at her. His eyes were fixed on the wolf shadow. The beast pulled itself another inch across the ice. One claw scraped forward. Then another. The chains cut deeper, spilling silver light that steamed when it touched the red bridge. Its muzzle lifted toward Mara, and the sound that came from it was not command, not hunger, not royal fury. It was pain. Mara turned halfway, breath caught in her throat. Do not move. Frost. Priestess Illyra snapped. The bridge pulsed beneath Mara's feet. Red light crawled up through her soles, not burning, but searching. It moved through her bones with a terrible cold tenderness, like something ancient pressing its ear to her blood. Then the whisper came again, softer this time. Marelle. Mara's heart lurched. Not Mara. Marelle. The name felt wrong and familiar at once, like a door hidden behind a wall she had leaned against all her life. The wolf shadow heard it too. Its silver eyes opened wider. Ronan took one step toward the bridge. The fracture behind him deepened. Illyra struck her staff against the snow. Your Majesty, stay back. The bridge is reacting to her corruption. No, Ronan said. The single word cut through the ravine. Illyra's face tightened. The bridge is breaking under your wolf. Ronan's jaw flexed. Only under the part of me you chained. A silence fell so hard even the gorge seemed to stop breathing. Varel released his wrist as if burned. Mara stared at him. Ronan had said it before the court. Not the wolf. My wolf. Not discipline. Chained. Ilya recovered first. Your wolf was bound by royal necessity. Everyone here remembers why. Do they? Ronan asked, eyes still on the crawling beast. The priestess lifted her chin. 2 winters ago, your wolf attacked the Luna trial. Varel's face paled slightly. Mara remembered the story. Everyone in the lower halls knew it. The Alpha King's wolf had gone mad during the winter Luna choosing. It had lunged before the court, rejected every noblewoman, shattered the moon ice altar, and nearly tore open the sacred bridge. The frost priestesses had bound it to save the king from his own beast. That was the official story. But the blood ice bridge was glowing beneath Mara now, and official stories suddenly felt as thin as lake ice in spring. Ronan looked at Varel at last. It did not attack you. Her lips parted. The frost mark at her throat flickered. Illyra stepped between them. This is not the moment for old wounds. The girl must complete the trial. Mara looked ahead. The bridge stretched across the moon gorge, long and narrow, red ice disappearing into mist. She had taken only 3 steps. Her feet already ached from cold, but the pain was not the worst part. The worst part was that the bridge wanted her to continue, not because it hated her, because it knew something behind her could not follow unless she did. Ronan's voice came to her across the ice. Mara. The name steadied her. Not Morel. Mara. The life she had survived under. She turned her head slightly. His face was controlled, but his eyes were not. The Alpha King looked at her as if suspicion and fear had begun fighting something older beneath his skin. "Can you step back?" he asked. Alira's mouth tightened. She must not. Ronan did not glance at her. I asked Mara. That small difference reached her like warmth under snow. Mara looked down. Behind her third footprint, the ice had sealed perfectly. Before her, the bridge glowed red. But when she tried to shift her weight backward, a sharp pain shot through her ankles. Not a threat. A warning. "No," she said. "It will not let me go back." Varel whispered. "Then it has claimed her." The bridge darkened. The wolf shadow snarled weakly. Mara felt the lie in Varel's words before she understood it. The bridge was not claiming her. It was refusing to return her to the people who had brought her there to fall. Alira raised her staff. "Then she walks." Ronan moved toward the bridge again. This time, Varel did not touch him. The wolf shadow dragged itself after him, and the cracks widened beneath the beast. Silver light bled into the red ice. Where the two colors met, images flickered under the surface. Mara saw a younger Ronan standing before the blood ice bridge, snow in his hair, fury in his face. She saw noble daughters lined along the cliff. She saw Firelli in white. She saw Alira holding a red ice needle. Then the image vanished. Madagaspith. Ronan saw her reaction. "What did you see?" Alira's voice snapped. "Do not answer him." Mara looked at the priestess. All her life, scentlessness had made her easy to dismiss. People spoke over her because they assumed nothing in her could carry truth. But the bridge had just spoken under her feet. The king had asked her, not the priestess, so she answered. "You," she said, "2 winters ago. At this bridge." Ronan went still. Varel's frostmark flickered again. Mara forced herself to continue. "And a red ice needle." The wolf shadow lunged so violently the chains tore silver wounds across its chest. Illyra's face lost color, only for a heartbeat. Enough. Ronan turned toward her. "What needle?" The frost priestess lifted her staff. "She is baiting your wolf through bridge illusion." "No," Mara said. The bridge is remembering. The red ice brightened beneath every step she had taken. Then, a 4th footprint appeared ahead of her before her foot touched it. Waiting. Mara understood. The bridge would show more, only if she continued. Ronan understood too. "No," he said. His voice was not command now. It was fear. Mara looked at him across the red light. "If I stop, they seal whatever this is." Alira's eyes hardened. That was answer enough. Mara turned forward. The gorge wind rose again, colder than before. She took the 4th step. The bridge held. Behind her, Ronan's wolf shadow crawled onto the blood ice bridge with a broken snarl, chains scraping red ice, silver light bleeding from its frozen body. The court cried out. Ronan staggered as if each scrape cut through him too. Under Mara's feet, the bridge opened its next memory. This time, the whole court saw. 2 winters ago, Ronan's wolf had not lunged at Farrell. It had broken from the Luna Circle and raced toward the servant's arch, toward a scentless girl, carrying a basket of frostwood, toward Mara. And before it could reach her, Alira drove the red ice needle into its heart shadow. The memory, under the bridge, did not vanish. It spread. Red ice brightened from Mara's bare feet to the far end of the blood ice bridge, carrying the image across the frozen ravine for every noble, priestess, guard, and servant to see. 2 winters ago, the royal Luna trial had not been a clean ceremony of destiny. It had been a hunting ground dressed in white. Young noblewomen stood in a crescent around the moon ice altar, each wearing silver scent oils, bloodline charms, and white wolf fur over their shoulders. Varel waited at the center, beautiful and still, her throat bare, her eyes fixed on Ronan as if the throne had already placed itself in her hands. Ronan stood before them, younger by 2 years but no less dangerous. His wolf shadow towered behind him. Unchained then, black and silver, restless with a hunger the court mistook for royal power. Then the scentless servant girl crossed the servant's arch. Mara saw herself in the memory, thinner, younger, carrying a basket of frostwood for the shrine fires, head lowered, shoulders folded inward, trying not to be seen in a hall where being noticed by nobles usually meant punishment. Ronan's wolf shadow turned. The movement had nothing of accident. It ignored the noble daughters. It ignored Varel. It ignored the moon ice altar and the frost priestesses chanting destiny into the air. It went straight toward Mara. The memory made present Mara's throat close. No one had ever told her this. No one had ever said that for one impossible moment, the Alpha King's wolf had crossed a sacred Luna trial toward a girl with no scent. In the memory, young Mara froze as the enormous shadow wolf approached. She did not scream. She did not run. She only stood with the frostwood basket clutched to her chest, as if kindling could protect her from destiny. The wolf lowered its head before her, not attacking, not hunting, bowing. The court in the memory erupted. Varel's face twisted with shock. Illyra moved before anyone else. The frost priestess drew a red ice needle from her sleeve and drove it into the wolf shadow's chest. The beast collapsed. Young Ronan screamed. Not like a king, like a man being split open. The bridge memory shattered into silver frost. The present returned with a sound like ice cracking under too much truth. No one spoke. Mara stood on the bridge, shaking so violently she almost lost balance. The red ice beneath her did not break. It held her, glowing warm around each footprint, while the frozen gorge below howled up through the cracks. Behind her, Ronan's chained wolf shadow dragged itself another inch forward. Its silver eyes were fixed on her, not newly, still, as if it had never stopped. Ronan turned toward Illyra. The frost priestess had gone very pale, but her spine remained straight. The memory is incomplete. The bridge darkened. A warning. Ronan's voice was low. Then complete it. Illyra's fingers tightened around her staff. Your wolf was unstable. It broke sacred trial formation and threatened the approved Luna candidate. It bowed to Mara, to a scentless servant. Illyra said sharply. A king's wolf cannot bind itself to absence. The word struck Mara harder than the wind. Absence. Not woman. Not girl. Not soul. Absence. The bridge answered before Ronan could. A line of red light shot beneath Mara's feet and raced backward toward the priestess. It stopped inches from Illyra's staff, then bloomed into another image. A hidden frost chamber under the bridge shrine. The wolf, shadow lying frozen on a slab of blood. Ice. Red needles driven into its chest, throat, and forelegs. Illyra stood above it, chanting. Varel stood beside her, white-faced but watching. Ronan was there too, but not awake. He knelt on the floor, head bowed, one hand pressed to the ice as if trying to reach the wolf inside it. Frost covered his eyelashes. His lips moved around. A word, the memory, did not let the court hear. Mara looked at him. What did they do to you? Ronan did not answer immediately. His eyes were on the memory, and his face had become something stripped raw. I woke with no memory of the trial after the altar shattered, he said. They told me my wolf went mad. They told me it tried to attack Lady Varel and had to be restrained. The wolf shadow made a broken sound. Mara's hands curled at her sides. And you believed them? Pain flashed through his eyes. I was 19. My wolf was silent inside me for 6 days. When it woke, it clawed toward every servant corridor in the palace until I could barely stand. They told me that was proof the madness remained. Varel stepped forward, trembling with anger now. It was madness. You were king. You needed a Luna with blood, name, scent, and pack strength. Not some kitchen ghost no wolf should have noticed. The bridge cracked. Not under Mara. Under Virelle. A thin red line split the snow at her feet. Virelle froze. Elira seized her arm and pulled her back. Do not let it bait you. Ronan looked at Virelle. You knew. Her lips parted. The frost mark at her throat flared blue, then dimmed. I knew your wolf reached for someone else, she whispered. And the needle? Virelle looked away. The answer was enough. Mara took another step. The bridge glowed brighter. The chains around Ronan's wolf shadow tightened violently, dragging the beast down until its jaw struck the red ice. Silver light spilled from its mouth like blood. Ronan staggered, one hand flying to his chest. Mara turned instinctively. Stop following me. The wolf shadow tried to lift its head, could not, but its eyes never left her. A terrible understanding entered Mara then. The wolf was not following because the bridge called it. It was following because it had been stopped once before, and some broken part of it believed this was the last chance to reach her. Elira raised her staff toward the bridge. Enough. The girl will continue to the center. If the bridge truly favors her, let it show the mark. If she is only bait for the king's frozen wolf, the gorge will take her where she stands. Ronan stepped onto the first stone of the bridge. The entire court gasped. The red ice beneath his boot cracked at once. Not deep enough to fall, deep enough to warn. Mara's heart lurched. Do not. Ronan looked at her across the bridge. His expression held fury, grief, and something he was fighting not to name too soon. They made me forget the first time, he said. I will not watch from the cliff again. He took another step. The bridge split wider beneath him. His wolf shadow crawled faster, silver light bleeding over red ice. Mara felt panic rise. If he kept walking, the bridge might break beneath him. If he stopped, the frost priestess would keep control. If Mara ran forward, she might trigger whatever trial waited at the center. The bridge whispered beneath her. Marelle. This time, the name did not feel like a stranger. It felt like a buried ember. Mara faced the far end of the bridge and took the next step. The red ice opened under her feet, not downward but inward, revealing a frozen river beneath the surface. Inside that river floated dozens of wolf shadows, all bound in red ice, all reaching toward unseen mates they had been punished for choosing. The court saw them. Not one wolf. Dozens. Mara's breath shook. She was not only looking at Ronan's punishment, she was looking at a royal system. Elira's voice sharpened into command. Close the bridge. The frost priestesses lifted their staffs. But the blood ice bridge had already begun to remember, and under Mara's next footprint, the first frozen wolf opened its eyes. The first frozen wolf woke beneath the ice like a star opening under blood. Its eyes were not silver like Ronan's wolf. They were amber, old, frightened, furious amber. Mara felt the look strike through the soles of her feet and climb her bones. The wolf was trapped below the bridge surface, its great body folded inside red ice, frost chains wrapped around its throat and ribs. One paw reached toward the frozen river's edge, claws spread as if it had spent years trying to crawl toward someone it was never allowed to reach. Then another pair of eyes opened. Blue, then another, green, then pale gold. All along the blood ice bridge, wolf shadows stirred beneath Mara's footsteps. The court recoiled from the cliff. A noblewoman screamed when she saw one of the frozen wolves turn its head toward her. A pack lord staggered back as a wolf beneath the ice pressed its muzzle against the surface, directly below his boots. The frost priestesses tightened their circle, but their staffs shook now. Ronan stood halfway onto the bridge, the red ice cracked beneath him, his chained wolf shadow dragging itself behind his legs. Blood-silver light streamed from the beast's wounds, staining the bridge wherever it touched. He looked down at the wolves beneath the ice. His voice was rough. How many? Elira did not answer. The bridge did. Red light spread under the court's feet. forming names in frost script across the snow. Talon, of House Greymere. Leora, of the Snow Pine Pack. Evanth Blackvale. Mira, of the Lower Kennels. One name after another appeared, and with each name, a frozen wolf below the bridge opened its eyes. Mara stared. These were not traitors, not mad wolves, not corrupted beasts. Some names belonged to nobles, some to servants, some to women no court record had ever bothered to honor. The bridge had not been used only to test people. It had been used to punish wolves that chose outside approved bloodlines. Ronan turned toward Alira, and the air around him seemed to sharpen. You froze mate bonds. Alira lifted her chin. We preserved pack order. You froze wolves. We prevented royal chaos. Mara laughed softly, though her throat felt tight enough to break. That is what people call cruelty when it wears a clean robe. The red ice beneath her glowed warmer. Not power. Approval. Varel's face twisted. Do not speak as if you understand pack order. You have no scent, no house, no wolf, no place in this trial except the one the bridge gives you before it breaks. Mara looked at her. For once, the words did not enter cleanly. They struck old bruises, yes, but something in Mara had begun to stand behind those bruises. The bridge still held her. Ronan's wolf still crawled after her. The frozen wolves below were awake because her feet had touched the red ice. No scent, no house, no wolf. And still the bridge listened. Mara took another step. The nearest frozen wolf pressed its paw beneath her footprint. A memory rose. A servant girl kneeling in a laundry yard, laughing through tears as a young noble wolf shadow circled her, a noble heir reaching for her hand. Frost priestesses dragging him away. Illyra driving a red ice needle into the heir's shadow while his mate screamed from behind locked gates. The memory shattered. Mara staggered. Ronan saw and moved instinctively. The bridge cracked beneath his next step. Stay back, Mara said. His eyes flashed. You are bleeding. She looked down. Blood had begun to thread from the cuts in her bare feet into the red ice. Not much. Thin lines. But wherever her blood touched, the frozen wolves below stirred more strongly. Alira saw it too. Fear crossed her face. This time, it stayed longer. She carries blood, ice inheritance. The priestess whispered. The court heard. Varel turned sharply. No! Ronan's gaze fixed on Mara. What does that mean? Illyra's mouth tightened shut. Mara knew nothing of inheritance. She knew kitchen smoke, winter floors, the ache of being unseen. She knew how to walk softly, how to listen, how to carry heavy things without making a sound. No one had ever taught her about bloodlines because no one had believed she had one. But the bridge whispered again, Marel. Then another word followed. Veiller. Marel Veillir. The name burned beneath her feet in red-white light. The court erupted. Ronan went utterly still. Varel stepped back as if the bridge had spat fire at her. Mara looked down at the name. Breath gone. Vare was not her servant name. It was not any kitchen record. It was old royal blood. Older than Ronan's current court, tied to the first builders of the Blood Ice Bridge. Illyra struck the snow with her staff. False memory. The bridge is corrupted by her blood. No, Ronan said. You just named it inheritance. The priestess's eyes cut to him. Too late. The court had heard that too. Mara lifted her bound wrists. If I am blood ice, why was I left scentless? Varel answered, before Alira could stop her. Because blood ice airs reveal frozen bonds. Silence fell. Virel's face went white. The bridge glowed brighter. Ronan looked at her slowly. You knew what she was. Varel shook her head once. Only after the trial. Which trial? She did not answer. His wolf shadow snarled, weak but deadly. The Luna trial, Mara said. The words came from the bridge as much as from her. She could feel the memory rising under her next step, waiting. Illyra's voice sharpened. If she reaches the center, the bridge will open every frozen bond under royal law. Every pack marriage tied through frost witness becomes suspect. Every Luna line chosen after punishment rites can be challenged. Your Majesty, if you want a kingdom by sunset, stop her now. Ronan looked at the bridge, at the frozen wolves, at Mara, at his own wolf crawling after her, with silver light bleeding from its chains. For a moment, the king was trapped between the throne and the truth. Mara could see it. Not weakness, but the terrible weight of knowing that justice might break every clean record his court depended on. Then Ronan removed the black wolf clasp from his mantle and dropped it onto the ice. A gasp went through the nobles. The clasp was not a crown, but in the northern packs it meant royal command. Every order spoken under it carried the king's full authority. Ronan's voice carried over the ravine. No one stops her. Illyra's face hardened. Then you choose her over the pack. No, he said. I choose to learn what was done in my name before I ask anyone to kneel to it. The bridge steadied beneath him. Only slightly. Enough for one more step. Mara's chest tightened. He was not free of the lie. Not yet. But he had stopped protecting it. The wolf shadow crawled beside him now, still chained, still bleeding, but closer to Mara than it had been in 2 years. The center of the bridge waited ahead, glowing deep red beneath a thin skin of frost. Mara knew the next memory would be worse. She felt it in the ice. She looked at Ronan once. He did not tell her to be brave. He did not tell her to continue. He only said, I am here. For a girl who had lived his absence, those 3 words almost broke her. Mara turned toward the center and stepped onto the heart of the blood ice bridge. The frozen river beneath her split open, and every trapped wolf shadow began to howl. The howls rose from beneath the bridge like a buried kingdom waking under ice. Mara dropped to one knee at the center of the blood ice bridge, palms striking the red surface hard enough to send pain up her arms. Beneath her, the frozen river had opened into a deep, glassy wound. Wolf shadows thrashed inside it, dozens of them, maybe hundreds, each bound in red ice, each reaching toward a name the court had once forbidden them to follow. Their howls did not sound like madness. They sounded like grief that had waited too long to be believed. The court clapped hands over ears. Noble daughters stumbled backward. Pack lords shouted at frost priestesses for answers the priestesses no longer had ready. The gorge itself answered with wind so cold, it turned breath white before it left the mouth. Ronan stood several steps behind Mara, the bridge cracked beneath his boots but holding. His wolf shadow had crawled nearly to the center now, dragging its chains through silver bloodlight. Every frozen wolf beneath the ice turned toward it, not as king, as the first one taken. Mara felt that truth before she understood it. Ronan's wolf had not been simply one victim among many. It had been the royal proof. Once the court froze the Alpha King's own wolf for choosing wrong, every lesser wolf could be punished the same way and called dangerous. Frost priestess Illyra lifted her staff with both hands. Close the heart. The priestesses formed a half circle at the cliff, chanting over the bridge in sharp winter syllables. Red frost gathered around the center, crawling toward Mara's knees, trying to seal the opening before more wolves woke. Ronan turned on them. Stop. Illyra's eyes flashed. If the heart remains open, every frozen bond will reach for release at once. Then we release them properly. You do not know how. The words struck because they were true. Mara looked down into the frozen river. The wolves were awake. But awakening was not freedom. Some were so tangled in punishment rites that pulling them loose too quickly might tear their living bodies apart, if those bodies still lived at all. Some wolves belonged to people long dead. Some were tied to children, widows, servants, forgotten mates who had aged without knowing what had been stolen from them. The bridge had opened a wound. It had not healed it. Mara pressed her bleeding palm to the ice. What do you need? The howls quieted. Not fully. Enough. A thread of red-white light rose beneath her hand, and shaped itself into an image. A woman standing in the same place generations ago, barefoot on the bridge, dark hair whipping in the storm, blood on her feet, a wolf shadow at her side. She wore no crown, only a strip of red ice tied around her wrist. The first blood ice heir. Mara knew her name before the bridge wrote it. Veyne. The woman in the memory faced a circle of kneeling wolves and spoke with a voice that carried through ice. A mate bond may be refused, it may be grieved, it may be released by choice, but it must never be frozen by command. Then, the memory twisted. Royal guards seized her. Frost priestesses surrounded the bridge. A king, older than Ronan by centuries but wearing the same black wolf crest, declared that uncontrolled mate bonds threatened pack order. Alaris was forced to place her hand on the heart of the bridge. Her blood sealed the first punishment rite, Mara Veyne. The bridge had been built by a blood ice heir to witness truth, then turned into a prison by the crown. Illyra's chant faltered. Ronan saw the vision. So did the court. His face went pale with rage. The bridge was never made to test the scentless. No, Mara whispered. It was made to protect choice. Varel laughed shakily from the cliff. Choice. Choice breaks kingdoms. Wolves choose beneath blood, heat, hunger, instinct. Without law, kings marry kitchen girls, heirs run to servants, alliances collapse, and packs turn on each other over mating fever. The red ice beneath her feet cracked again. This time, deeper. Virelle froze. Mara looked at her, and for the first time, she saw the fear beneath the cruelty. Varel had not only wanted Ronan, she had wanted the world where wanting Ronan made sense, where nobility and scent and approval guaranteed the future she had been trained for. If a kingdom needs frozen wolves to survive, Mara said, then it was already breaking. The bridge glowed. Ronan's wolf shadow lifted its head a little higher. Illyra's staff struck the ground. Enough. Blood ice heirs were ended because they could unseal what must remain buried. Mara's throat tightened. Ended? Illyra's mouth shut. Too late, the bridge answered again. Images flashed beneath the ice. Blood. Ice children taken from cradles, their scents sealed with red frost. Girls sent to kitchens under false names. Boys recorded as stillborn. Heirs marked scentless, so no wolf would find them before the court could use or erase them. Mara saw a baby wrapped in a gray cloth, a frost priestess pressing 2 red fingers to the child's throat, a name written in a ledger, then scratched out, Mara Veyne, recorded as scentless by mercy, delivered to the lower kitchens. Mara stopped breathing. She was not born empty. She was made unreachable. Ronan's wolf shadow let out a sound so raw the bridge trembled. Ronan looked at Illyra with quiet horror. You sealed her scent, as a child. Illyra's face had become stone. We sealed a dangerous inheritance. You hid my mate from me. The word mate struck the court like lightning. Mara turned sharply. Ronan heard himself and went still. For one breath, old patterns waited to form. The court would make it claim. Varel would make it accusation. Illyra would make it corruption. Mara felt the bridge tense beneath her, testing what would happen next. Ronan closed his eyes once. When he opened them, he looked only at Mara. I am sorry, he said, voice rough. That was not mine to name before you knew it yourself. The bridge steadied. Mara's chest hurt. Not with romance. Not yet. But the pain of being given room where everyone else had given verdicts. The frozen wolves beneath the ice pressed closer. Mara looked down at them, then at the red frost still trying to close the bridge's heart. I cannot free them all tonight, she said. Illyra seized the opening. Then step back. No. Mara pushed herself upright, though her feet bled against the ice. I can name the right. The blood ice bridge brightened. Words surfaced beneath her. Royal punishment rite. Frost bond severance. Scent erasure. wolf shadow, imprisonment. The court read them one by one. Ronan's face darkened with every word. Illyra's priestesses backed away, but the bridge had already caught their shadows. Red light wrapped around their staffs, exposing tiny frozen marks carved inside the silver, the names of wolves they had helped bind. Varel stepped back too. The bridge caught her frost mark. Blue light flared at her throat, then split open, revealing a red ice needle hidden inside the mark. Mara stared. Ronan's wolf shadow snarled. Varel clutched her throat. No. The needle glowed with the same light as the one driven into Ronan's wolf 2 years ago. Ronan turned toward her slowly. You wore the weapon as a Luna mark. Varel shook her head, tears bright with panic. I wore what they gave me. Illyra's voice sharpened. Silence. But the bridge no longer favored silence. The red ice needle rose from Varel's throat, hovering in the cold dawn. Then it pointed across the bridge. Not at Mara, not at Ronan. At the chained wolf shadow crawling toward them. Mara understood with a sick twist of certainty. The needle was not only proof, it was the lock. And if it broke wrong, Ronan's wolf might never rise again. The red ice needle hovered over the bridge like a frozen sentence waiting to be carried out. Every eye in the ravine fixed on it. It was smaller than Mara expected, thin as a thorn, beautiful in a cruel way, its surface glowing blue at the edges and deep red at the center, where a single drop of silver light pulsed like a trapped heartbeat. That heartbeat answered Ronan's wolf shadow. The chained beast lifted its head. The needle turned toward it. Ronan stepped forward at once. The bridge cracked beneath him. Do not touch it, Mara said. He stopped, but barely. His face looked carved from winter rage. It is inside my wolf. No, Illyra said from the cliff, voice sharp with desperation. It is holding your wolf together. The blood ice bridge darkened beneath her words. Ronan looked at the priestess. You expect me to believe that? I expect you to remember the last 2 years, Illyra said. Since the freezing, your wolf has not torn through the court. It has not dragged you toward a scentless kitchen girl. It has not shattered the Luna line. You call that cruelty because the bridge has poisoned your judgment. I call it survival. Mara felt the old wound in that word. Survival. People used it whenever they wanted someone else to remain in pain quietly. The needle pulsed again. Ronan's wolf shadow made a broken sound and tried to crawl closer to it, not away. That frightened Mara more than if it had snarled. The beast recognized the weapon. It knew the thing that had hurt it. Yet some part of it still believed the needle carried the frozen piece of itself it needed back. Mara looked at Varel. The false Luna candidate stood trembling near the snowline, one hand pressed to her bare throat where the hidden needle had risen. Without its glow, her frost mark looked faint and hollow. More paint than destiny. When they gave it to you, Mara said. What did they tell you it was? Viral's lips parted. Illyra snapped. Lady Varel owes the accused nothing. The bridge cracked louder under the priestess's feet. Mara did not raise her voice. Then answer, because the bridge is listening. Varel looked from the needle to Ronan. For once, her beauty did not know how to protect her. They told me it was the stabilizing point, she whispered. Ronan's jaw tightened. For what? Our bond. The word bond came out small, false even before the bridge judged it. Red light flared beneath Varel's feet. She flinched and corrected herself. For the approved claim, the bridge quieted. Truth then. Ugly, but truth. Varel swallowed. After your wolf was frozen, Illyra said the court needed a visible sign. Something that proved the Luna trial had not failed. Something that made the Pax believe your wolf's madness had been controlled for the kingdom's good. So you wore the lock, Ronan said. Varel's eyes filled. I wore what they gave me, because if I refused, every alliance my house built would collapse. And Mara. His voice dropped. What did they tell you about her? Varel looked at Mara then, not with pity, with the frightened hatred of someone forced to see the person beneath the lie she had used. "They said she would never know," Varel whispered. "They said scent erasure leaves no wound a servant can name." The bridge flashed white-red. Mara felt the words hit somewhere deeper than pride. No wound a servant can name. That was how they had survived. Not by making the injury painless, but by making Mara unable to prove she had been injured at all. Ronan's wolf shadow dragged itself another inch forward. Silver light streamed from its chest toward the needle. The red ice thorn trembled, torn between the false Luna mark it had hidden inside and the wolf it had pierced. Mara knew then that the needle could not simply be broken. It held pain. It held proof. It held the frozen moment when Ronan's wolf chose her and was punished for it. If she snapped it too soon, that moment might shatter with it. She knelt on the bridge. The ice under her knees glowed, and the frozen wolves beneath the surface pressed closer, watching through red glass. "Mara," Ronan said. His voice carried warning and fear. She looked back. "If I do nothing, it stays the lock. If you touch it, it may hurt you." It already did. The answer silenced him, because it was true. The needle had shaped years of her life without ever touching her skin. It had made her absence useful. It had helped turn Ronan's wolf into a warning and Varel's false mark into law. Mara lifted one hand. The needle drifted down toward her palm. Illyra's priestesses cried out, "Do not let her take it." Ronan drew his sword. The sound rang across the ravine. No one moves. The command held. Barely. The needle touched Mara's skin. Cold entered her so violently her breath stopped. The bridge vanished. She stood in the Luna trial 2 years earlier, but not as an observer this time. She was inside the frozen moment itself. Ronan's wolf shadow had lowered before her. Young Mara stared at it, terrified and strangely calm. Behind them, Illyra raised the red ice needle. But before the needle struck, the wolf spoke, not with human words, with bond. Mine was not the word. It was Gentler. Alder. Found. The needle drove into the wolf shadow's chest. The moment froze. Young Mara's scent vanished from the air. Ronan's cry became ice. The wolf's recognition hardened into punishment. Then the memory shifted. Illyra stood over the frozen beast in the hidden chamber beneath the bridge shrine. Varel watched from the doorway, shaking. "What if the girl remembers?" Varel asked. Illyra pressed the needle deeper. "She has no scent. Memory without scent is smoke. No wolf will follow smoke for long." The present rushed back. Mara gasped. The needle burning cold against her palm. Ronan stared at her. "What did you see?" Mara's fingers closed around the needle. This time it did not cut her. It trembled. "It did not say mine," she whispered. The court waited. Mara looked at Ronan's wolf shadow, bleeding and broken, still crawling toward her after 2 stolen years. It said found. The wolf shadow collapsed fully onto the bridge, not in defeat, in recognition. The red ice beneath Mara's hand split open into a circle. Inside it, the frozen moment from the Luna trial appeared for all to see. The wolf bowing, not claiming possession, not attacking, not going mad, but finding the girl the court had made unreachable. Ronan's face changed. Grief moved through him so sharply, Mara almost looked away. Illyra shouted, "Close it!" But the bridge had opened the lock. The red ice needle rose from Mara's hand and hovered between her and Ronan's wolf shadow. The silver heartbeat inside it began beating faster. Mara understood what the bridge wanted now. Name the frozen moment. Not break it. Numb it. She lifted her chin. This was not madness. The needle pulsed. Ronan stepped closer, though the ice cracked beneath him. It was not rejection. The wolf shadow raised its head. Varel whispered, "It was not my bond." The needle flared bright enough to blind the court. Illyra's face went white. Mara looked at the priestess. "Say the last part." "No." The bridge cracked under Illyra's staff. The frozen wolves below began to howl again, Lower this time, angrier. Ronan's voice came like a blade through snow. "Say it!" Illyra's mouth twisted. For the first time, the frost priestess looked less like a holy woman and more like someone standing on the edge of the grave she had dug for others. "It was his true choice." She spat. The red ice needle shattered. Not outward. Inward. Silver light burst from its core and rushed into Ronan's wolf shadow. The chains around the beast's chest cracked, one by one. The frost over its muzzle melted. Its forelegs shook as it tried to rise. Mara reached toward it without thinking. The wolf shadow looked at her. For one heartbeat, every frozen wolf beneath the bridge went silent. Then Ronan's wolf placed one massive paw forward. The blood ice bridge held. But behind Illyra, the cliffside split open, revealing a hidden stair descending beneath the bridge shrine. And from below came the sound of hundreds of red ice needles waking in the dark. The hidden stair breathed cold from beneath the bridge shrine. It was not ordinary winter air. It carried the smell of old blood, iron frost, and wolves that had been forced to sleep with their mouths open around unfinished howls. The sound, rising from below, was delicate at first, almost beautiful. Hundreds of red ice needles humming in the dark like a choir of frozen insects. Then the blood ice bridge answered. Every buried wolf shadow beneath Mara's feet turned its head toward the stair. Ronan's wolf stood halfway now, no longer crawling, no longer fully crushed beneath the chains, but not free either. Silver light still bled from its ribs. Frost links hung from its throat and forelegs, cracked but stubborn. The place where the red ice needle had shattered glowed inside its chest like a wound learning to become breath. Ronan staggered one step and caught himself. Mara saw the pain cross his face. The wolf's wound was his wound. The court saw that too. Illyra stood before the split cliffside, pale with fury. Behind her, the hidden stair descended into blue darkness. Frost priestesses gathered around her, but their confidence had thinned. Their staffs glowed red from within, and Mara understood with a sick twist that each staff was not only a tool, each was a key. Ronan lifted his sword toward the stair. "What is under my bridge?" Illyra's mouth tightened. "The lower shrine. Do not dress it in holy words." The priestess's eyes flashed. "The punishment vault." A tremor moved through the court. Varel looked away. Mara did not. The words settled into her like a stone dropped through ice. Punishment vault. Not healing chamber, not trial record, not sacred archive. A place built to keep wolves frozen after the court decided their choices were inconvenient. The blood ice bridge pulsed beneath her feet. Mara heard the frozen wolves below again, not as howls this time, but as fragments, names, hands, doors. A child, crying because his mother's wolf never came back. A noble daughter waking beside a husband chosen by council, while her true mate's shadow slept under the bridge. A servant boy whipped for claiming he heard his alpha's wolf calling from the ice. Dozens of lives bent around one terrible practice. Ronan started toward the stair. The bridge cracked beneath his boot. Mara reached out. "Wait." His head turned sharply. His wolf shadow did the same. "We cannot go down angry," she said. His laugh was quiet and bitter. "What would you suggest?" Carefully. Illyra seized the moment. "Listen to her, Your Majesty. Even the Scentless girl understands. The vault cannot be disturbed. Those needles hold unstable bonds. Release them wrong and wolves will tear through their human bodies. Mates will collapse. Children may inherit broken shadows. Packs will accuse packs. Your throne will drown in claims before sunset." Fear moved through the gathered nobles. Again, always again. Mara hated how fear could make cruelty sound responsible. But this time, she could not dismiss every word. The bridge had shown her enough to know that frozen bonds were not simple chains. Some were old. Some were tangled with marriages, children, deaths, treaties, pack borders. Pulling them all loose at once could break the living along with the prison. She looked down at the wolves beneath the ice. Illyra is lying about why the vault exists, Mara said. But she may not be lying about what careless release could do. The blood ice bridge warmed beneath her words. Truth, it seemed, did not always flatter anger. Ronan lowered his sword an inch. That cost him. Mara saw it. The king wanted to tear open the stair and drag every hidden needle into daylight. The man wanted to go back 2 years and stop the priestess before her hand reached his wolf. The wolf wanted only Mara, still always across a bridge that had stolen too much time. But he lowered the sword. "What do you need?" he asked. Mara looked at the stair. The humming needles grew louder. "1 needle," she said. "The first one in the vault." Illyra's face changed. "Not fear now. Panique." Ronan saw it. "Why that one?" Mara looked at the bridge, and the bridge answered by sending a thin red line from her feet toward the stair. The line slipped down into darkness and returned with a single image. A red ice needle larger than the others, locked inside a black crystal case, wrapped in silver wolf hair and royal blood. Mara swallowed, because all the others were made from it. Varel whispered, "The mother needle." Illyra turned on her. Silence. Too late again. The name had entered the air. Mother needle. The bridge darkened around the words, then flared red-white. Ronan's wolf shadow snarled. Stronger this time. Mara looked at Varel. "What does it hold?" Varel's lips trembled. "The first frozen choice." Ronan's voice lowered. "Whose?" No one answered. The bridge did. A memory opened not beneath Mara's feet, but along the cliff wall itself. A young woman standing before the first blood ice bridge, hands bound, scentless like Mara, while a black wolf shadow strained toward her through a ring of armed priests. Beside the wolf stood an ancient alpha king, wearing the blackthorn crest. The woman's name burned into the ice. Élarise Veyne, the first blood ice heir, the first girl who could reveal frozen bonds, the first punishment. A priestess drove a red ice needle not into the wolf, but into Alaris's own shadow. Mara cried out. The memory shattered, leaving frost on every face in the court. Illyra's voice came thin. Blood. Ice inheritance began as a threat. It had to be controlled. "No," Mara whispered, staring at the stair. It began as a wound. The hidden needles below hummed louder, as if waking to the name of their first victim. Ronan looked at Mara, then at his wolf shadow, then down into the punishment vault beneath his kingdom. "We bring up the mother needle," he said. Illyra stepped in front of the stair. "I cannot allow that." Ronan's eyes turned cold. "You do not allow me anything." The frost priestess lifted her staff. The priestesses behind her did the same. Red light gathered at their tips, aimed not at Ronan. At Mara, the wolf shadow lunged. Ronan moved, but the blood ice bridge moved faster. Red ice rose between Mara and the priestesses in a translucent wall. The attack struck it and spread into a vision across the surface. The court saw Illyra 2 years earlier, standing in the punishment vault, pressing Ronan's needle into Varel's throat to create a false Luna mark. They saw Varel crying, then nodding. They saw the priestesses sealing Mara's scent record under a kitchen name. They saw the mother needle pulsing in its case, while every smaller needle answered. The vision ended. No one spoke. Ronan's voice was barely human. "Arrest them." Some guards moved at once. Others hesitated, looking to Illyra. That hesitation mattered. The priestess smiled, small and terrible. "You see, Majesty, even now they know what protects the packs." Mara stepped forward on the bridge. Her feet left bloody marks on the glowing ice. "No," she said. "They know what frightens them." The bridge carried her voice across the ravine. She lifted her hand toward the hidden stair. "Bring up the first needle." For a moment, nothing happened. Then the punishment vault below groaned. A black crystal case rose slowly from the darkness, carried by red frost and silver light. Inside it hovered the mother needle, long and sharp and alive with trapped moonfire. It was beautiful enough to be mistaken for sacred by anyone who had never heard what it cost. As it reached the bridge, every frozen wolf below bowed its head, not to the needle, to Mara. The mother needle turned inside its case, then pointed straight at her heart. The black crystal case trembled above the bridge, and every wolf beneath the ice stopped howling. That silence frightened Mara more than the noise had. The mother needle hovered inside its prison of crystal and frost, long as a dagger, thin as a thorn, glowing red at its center and silver along its edges. It pointed at Mara's heart with such certainty that for one terrible breath, she thought the bridge meant to finish what the first punishment rite had begun. Ronan stepped forward. The blood ice bridge cracked beneath his boot. His wolf shadow moved with him, half risen now, still chained at the throat and forelegs, but no longer crawling. Silver light streamed from the broken locks around its chest. Its eyes stayed fixed on the needle. "Mara," Ronan said, voice low. "Step away from it." She wanted to. Every living part of her wanted to turn back toward the cliff, toward snow and breath and the familiar safety of being unseen. But the name under her skin answered. Mara Veyne. Not a crown. Not a command. A memory the bridge had kept, because the world had tried to erase it. "It is not pointing at me to kill me," she said. Ilir laughed from the cliff, though guards now held her arms. That is exactly what every blood ice heir believes before the bridge takes them. The mother needle pulsed. The black crystal around it cracked. Varel drew back sharply. "It is waking." Ronan looked at her. "What happens when it wakes?" Varel's face went bloodless. "The first frozen choice opens." The phrase moved through the court. First frozen choice. Mara reached toward the crystal. Ronan's voice sharpened. "Do not touch it yet." She looked back at him. For a moment, the ravine vanished behind his eyes. He was still the Alpha King, still dangerous, still bound to a throne that had punished wolves for choosing outside approved lines. But he had stopped using command as the shape of concern. He was afraid. For hair, for his wolf, for what the truth might cost. That made the next choice harder, not easier. "If I do not touch it," Mara said, "Ilir gets to keep telling us what it is." The wolf shadow gave a low, pained sound. Ronan closed his hand around the hilt of his sword, then released it. "Tell me what you need." The words crossed the bridge, like warmth through ice. Mara turned back to the mother needle. "Witness." Ronan understood. He faced the court. No one interrupts her. Ilir struggled against the guards. If she opens the mother needle, every frozen bond tied to it may surge at once. Then the court will see what it built. The court will panic. It should. That silenced even the pack lords. Mara placed her palm against the black crystal. Cold entered her hand. Not like winter, like being forgotten. The bridge disappeared. She stood inside an older dawn. The first blood ice bridge stretched beneath a pale sky, newly made, its red ice clear and beautiful, not yet darkened by centuries of punishment. Ilaris Veyne stood at the center with her wrists bound, her throat sealed by frost. She was young, no older than Mara, with the same dark hair, the same hollowed look of someone judged dangerous before being understood. Across from her stood the first Blackthorn Alpha, tall, crowned in black wolf bone. His wolf shadow stood behind him, enormous and trembling, trying to move toward Ilaris. The court around them shouted that she had bewitched it. Ilaris did not look at them. She looked at the wolf. "You may refuse me," she said softly. "You may choose another. You may turn away and live free. But do not let them freeze your choice and call it order." The wolf shadow lowered its head. Not possession, recognition. The first frost priestess stepped forward with the mother needle. Ilaris turned to the old alpha. "Ask him." The old alpha's face twisted. "A king does not ask his wolf." The needle struck Ilaris's shadow. Mara cried out, as pain tore through her own chest. The vision did not stop. Alaris fell to her knees. Her scent vanished from the bridge. Her name froze under the ice. The wolf shadow lunged. But the priests drove a second shard of the needle into its heart shadow, turning recognition into punishment. Then the old alpha spoke the lie that became law. If a wolf chooses where the throne cannot approve, the bridge shall freeze the choice before the pack bleeds for it. The words sank into the bridge. Red ice darkened. The mother needle formed from Alaris's frozen shadow and the wolf's punished bond. Not a sacred tool. A wound sharpened into law. The memory shattered. Mara came back gasping, her palm still pressed to the cracked crystal. The entire court had seen it. Even Illyra had gone silent. Ronan stood frozen, face ashen with fury and grief. The bridge was built to protect choice, he said. Mara nodded, tears cold on her cheeks, and the first law carved into it was a betrayal. The mother needle broke free from the crystal. It hovered between them, no longer pointing only at Mara, but at Ronan's wolf shadow too. The silver heartbeat inside it beat faster, as if the old wound recognized the newer one. Illyra found her voice. If you destroy it, every punishment right tied to it will rupture. Mara looked down at the frozen wolves beneath the bridge. I am not going to destroy it, Varel whispered. Then what? Mara lifted her bleeding hand. I am going to ask it what it was, before they made it a weapon. The bridge glowed. The mother needle turned slowly. Inside the red ice, a new shape appeared. Not a needle, but a thread of blood. Bright light wrapped around silver frost. Alaris's witness thread, the first blackthorn wolf's choice. Both trapped together. Mara understood now. The mother needle could not be broken. It had to be unwound. She looked at Ronan. Your wolf carries the newest lock. His jaw tightened. Yes, the mother needle carries the first. And you stand between them. Mara felt the truth of it settle across her shoulders. Not glory. Wait. If I unwind the first one wrong, the others may break. Ronan stepped closer, and this time, the bridge held a little more firmly beneath him. If you do it alone, they will call it blood. Ice vengeance, he said. Mara looked at him. He removed the royal black wolf clasp from where it lay on the ice and placed it beside her bleeding footprint. Then he knelt. The court gasped. The Alpha King did not bow his head fully. He did not make a spectacle of surrender. But he knelt on the cracked blood ice bridge before the scentless girl his court had dragged there to fall. I witness, he said. His wolf shadow lowered beside him. I witness, Ronan repeated, voice rougher now, as if speaking for them both, that my wolf did not reject Mara Veyne. It chose her before the court approved another. It was frozen for that choice. Her scent was sealed to make the punishment look righteous. My memory was shaped by law I inherited and did not question soon enough. Every word burned into the red ice. Illyra shook her head. You are breaking the monarchy. No, Ronan said. I am refusing to let it keep feeding on frozen wolves. The mother needle trembled. One black layer peeled from its surface and fell away as snow. Mara felt the first lock loosen. Beneath the bridge, the frozen wolves bowed their heads. Not freed. Waiting. Mara closed both hands around the red-silver thread inside the needle. Pain burned up her arms. Ronan's wolf shadow pressed one massive paw beside her, silver light meeting red ice. Together, they pulled. The bridge thundered. At the far cliff, the punishment vault cracked open wider. Hundreds of needles below began to rise from the dark, each one carrying a frozen moment, a stolen choice, a wolf that had once reached for the wrong person according to the court. Mara nearly let go. Ronan's voice anchored her. Name only the first. She breathed through the pain. Alaris. The name left her mouth like blood on snow. The mother needle split open. Not shattered. Opened. A woman's shadow stepped out of it, made of red frost and moonlight. barefoot on the bridge, with eyes the same wounded gray as Mara's. Alaris Veyne looked at the court that had turned her pain into law. Then she looked at Mara. "My daughter of the last ice," she whispered. "Do not free them by becoming what froze them." The warning struck deeper than any threat. Mara bowed her head. "I won't." Alaris lifted one hand toward Ronan's wolf shadow. "The first choice has been named. Now the latest must answer freely." Ronan went still. Mara looked at him. The wolf shadow lifted its head, chains cracked, chest glowing, eyes fixed on her with 2 years of frozen grief. Alaris's voice softened. "Ask the wolf, if it still chooses. After pain, after punishment, after time." The whole court held its breath. Ronan turned to his wolf shadow, not commanding, not claiming, asking, and the Blood Ice Bridge waited for the answer. Ronan did not speak at once. That restraint changed the bridge more than any command could have. The Blood Ice Bridge waited beneath the dawn, red veins glowing under frost, frozen wolves watching from below, the punishment vault open behind the cliff like a throat full of needles. The court leaned toward the answer as if it belonged to them. It did not. Mara stood at the center of the bridge with blood on her feet, and Alaris Veyne's red-silver thread burning between her hands. Ronan knelt several steps behind her, his wolf shadow beside him, half risen, wounded, chained, but no longer crawling. The beast's silver eyes fixed on Mara, with a grief so old it seemed carved into moonlight. Alaris's shadow stood between them and the mother needle, watching. "Ask," she said. Ronan lifted his head toward his wolf. The Alpha King looked less like a ruler in that moment, and more like a man facing the part of himself he had failed without knowing. "You chose her once," he said, voice low. "Before I understood. Before she knew. Before the court punished you for it." The wolf shadow trembled. Ronan's jaw tightened. "I am not asking if pain taught you to obey. I am not asking if the bridge, the blood, or the old bond demands her." Mara's fingers tightened around the thread. The words mattered. Every word mattered. Ronan took one careful breath. "I am asking if you still choose to reach for Mara Veyne, now that she can refuse you." The bridge went silent. Even the wind stopped. The wolf shadow lowered its head until its muzzle touched the red ice. For one terrible heartbeat, nothing happened. Then silver light rose from its chest. Not violent, not claiming, not the sharp flare of a mate mark forced open. It moved slowly, painfully, like something thawing after years inside a locked winter. The light crossed the ice toward Mara, then stopped a hand's breadth from her bare feet. Waiting. Not rapping, not taking, waiting. Mara felt tears burn in her eyes. No one had ever waited for her answer. Not the kitchens, not the priestesses, not the bridge, not the court that had dragged her here to fall. She looked at the silver light, then at Ronan. His face was pale with restraint. "You may step away," he said. The court stirred in shock. Varel stared, as if he had struck her. Hilira's voice cut through the silence. "A king cannot place a royal wolf's choice in the hands of a scentless girl." The bridge flashed red beneath the priestess. Mara looked at her. "I am not scentless." The words came quietly, but the ice heard them. The frozen scent seal beneath Mara's throat cracked. At first, she felt only pain, a cold line splitting open under her skin. Then, scent rose from her body for the first time in her life. Winter blood on red ice, smoke from pine wood, moonlit snow, and beneath it all, a clean iron sweetness like a vow cut free from a blade. Every wolf in the court reacted. Some gasped, some staggered, some bowed before pride could stop them. Ronan closed his eyes once. His wolf shadow exhaled. Mara turned back to the silver light, waiting at her feet. "I do not know how to be chosen," she whispered. Ronan's answer came rough. "Then do not be." "Not tonight." The silver light steadied. Mara understood. A bond could exist without becoming a cage. A wolf could choose without being owed. A girl could be found and still decide where to stand. She touched the silver light with 2 fingers, not accepting a claim, acknowledging the truth. The bridge thundered beneath them. The latest lock opened. Ronan's wolf shadow rose fully to its feet. Chains fell from its forelegs, cracking into silver frost across the bridge. The chain at its throat remained, thinner now, tied not to Mara, but to the punishment vault below. Illyra saw it and moved. She tore free from the guards with a hidden shard of red ice between her fingers and drove it into her own palm. Blood struck the snow. The punishment vault screamed open behind her. Hundreds of red ice needles rose from the darkness at once. The court panicked. Nobles fled from the cliff edge. Frost priestesses shouted old sealing chants. Varel stumbled backward, clutching her bare throat. The needles spun in the air, each one aimed at a different wolf shadow beneath the bridge. Illyra's face twisted with desperate conviction. If one frozen bond wakes, all will demand judgment. If all demand judgment, the packs tear themselves apart. I will not let a kitchen girl and a wounded king undo centuries of order. Mara felt the needles pulling at every frozen wolf below. Too many, far too many. If they shattered, the bridge might release every bond at once. Some wolves would return to living bodies unprepared. Some would tear through marriages and children and old grief. Some might wake into nobody at all. Alaris's warning burned in Mara's chest. Do not free them by becoming what froze them. Ronan stood, sword drawn, wolf shadow at his side. What do we do? Mara looked at the needles, then at the mother needle, now open, its red-silver thread still pulsing in her hands. We do not break them. Illyra laughed wildly. Then you lose. No, Mara said. We name the law before the wound. She lifted Alaris's thread. Royal punishment right, Mara said. The bridge repeated it in red fire. The needles paused. Frost, bond, severance. More needles stopped spinning. Scent, erasure. The frost seal at Mara's throat broke fully, and her scent flooded the ravine. Wolf? Shadow imprisonment. The frozen wolves beneath the ice pressed their heads to the bridge surface. Ronan stepped beside Mara, no longer kneeling, no longer behind. An unauthorized Luna substitution. Virella flinched. The bridge flashed beneath her feet. The needle fragments inside her old frostmark turned visible, then fell like red snow. Illyra screamed. Stop speaking! But speech was the one thing the bridge had been built to preserve. Alaris lifted her shadowed hand. Name witness. Mara's voice shook, but did not fail. Blood. Ice witness. The red ice needles lowered, not freed, not destroyed, suspended. Each one hovered above the bridge, holding its frozen moment intact, no longer under Illyra's command. The priestess stared in horror. Ronan raised his sword toward the court, but his eyes stayed on the suspended needles. Every punishment right tied to this bridge is suspended under royal witness. Illyra spat blood onto the snow. You do not know what you have invited. Yes, Ronan said. Truth. Mara looked at the frozen wolves below. They were awake now. Waiting, as Ronan's wolf had waited. Some angry, some afraid, some too tired to hope. Her body trembled with the weight of them. Then the bridge opened one last image, not beneath her feet. Across the sky above the gorge, a ledger of ice appeared in the dawn, filled with names scratched out, rewritten, sealed, buried, wolves frozen, mates hidden, scentless children made from blood, ice blood, false Luna candidates approved over true choices. At the top of the ledger burned one signature, Illyra Frostmere, but below it, another name appeared, Virella's father. Then 3 pack lords, then a council seal. The court saw the whole structure, not one priestess, not one jealous woman, a system, Virella sank to her knees. Illyra closed her eyes, not in shame, but in calculation. Mara saw it too late. The frost priestess opened her eyes and smiled. "If the ledger is awake," Illyra whispered, "then so is the oldest sentence." The bridge beneath Mara's feet turned black-red. Alaris's shadow stiffened. Ronan's wolf shadow snarled. From the far end of the Blood Ice Bridge, where no one stood, an ancient frost gate rose from the gorge. Its surface was carved with one law in old wolf script: if the bridge reveals the frozen, the blood ice air must take their place. Every suspended needle turned toward Mara. Ronan stepped in front of her. The bridge cracked beneath him. Mara caught his arm before he could move farther. "No," she said. Though fear shook through her, the ancient gate opened. Inside waited a throne made of red ice, empty and hungry. Illyra's smile widened. The bridge always demands a keeper. The empty red ice throne waited beyond the ancient frost gate, like a mouth that had learned the shape of a crown. Every suspended needle turned toward Mara, not violently, worse, obediently, as if the bridge had already decided what she was supposed to become: keeper, replacement, sacrifice, dressed in sacred law. Mara felt the pull of the throne through the blood in her feet. It promised stillness. It promised order. It promised that every frozen wolf could remain contained if one blood ice air sat in the center of the punishment forever and carried what the court had made. For a single terrible breath, she understood why the old law had survived. It sounded almost noble. Let one suffer so many do not break. Let one girl become the lock so the kingdom can call itself safe. Ronan stepped in front of her, and the bridge cracked beneath him from edge to edge. His wolf shadow snarled beside him, nearly free now, the final chain at its throat, pulled tight toward the open gate. Silver light bled from the beast's chest, but it did not retreat. It placed itself between Mara and the throne, with a devotion that made the frozen wolves beneath the bridge stir and answer. "No," Ronan said. Illyra laughed from the cliffside, bound by guards but still standing. "You cannot refuse the oldest sentence. I can refuse to feed it another woman. The bridge demands a keeper." Ronan's voice cut like winter steel. "The bridge was made to witness choice. You turned it into a hunger." The gate shuddered. The red ice throne pulsed darker. For a moment, Mara thought Ronan's defiance would break the bridge beneath him. He was not blood ice. He could stand with her, but he could not answer for the law inside it. Not fully. Alaris's shadow turned toward Mara. "My daughter of the last ice," she said softly. "Look at the words." Mara forced her eyes to the ancient gate. The law burned in old wolf script. If the bridge reveals the frozen, the blood ice air must take their place. The words seemed complete, final, but the golden red ice around Alaris's feet brightened. "Not the law," Alaris whispered. "The scar beneath it." Mara stepped closer, despite Ronan's sharp breath. The throne's pull tightened around her ribs, but she focused on the carved letters. Beneath the top line, half buried under frost, another script glimmered faintly. Older, thinner, nearly scratched away. She touched it with one bleeding finger. The frost melted. The true sentence appeared beneath the false one. If the bridge reveals the frozen, the blood ice air must take their witness. Not their place, their witness. The whole ravine fell silent. Illyra's smile vanished. Mara felt the truth move through her, so clean and painful it nearly brought her to her knees. The law had been changed. One word, one theft. Place instead of witness. Generations of blood ice heirs had been turned into sacrifices because someone had carved hunger over duty and called it sacred. Ronan saw it too. His face became terrifyingly calm. "You altered the oldest law," he said. Illyra's voice shook for the first time. "My predecessors preserved the pacts. You inherited a lie and sharpened it." The blood ice bridge blazed red-white beneath Mara. The suspended needles trembled. Mara lifted Alaris's witness thread. "I do not take their place," she said. The ancient gate shook. "I take their witness." The red ice throne cracked down the center. Not destroyed. Refused. Every needle turned away from Mara and toward the sky ledger. Names burned brighter above the gorge. Wolves, mates, sealed children, false Luna candidates, priestesses, pack lords, council marks. The old system hung exposed under dawn. Too vast to deny, and too wounded to fix in one breath. Ronan faced the court. "Every blood ice punishment rite is suspended," he said. "Every frozen bond will be reviewed under witness. No wolf will be torn free by force. No mate will be returned without choice. No child will be named Scentless by priestess record again." A pack lord shouted from the cliff, "You cannot undo centuries of law in one morning." "No," Ronan said. "But I can stop obeying it this morning," the bridge answered. The final chain around his wolf shadow's throat snapped. Silver light burst across the blood ice bridge. Ronan staggered, one hand pressed to his chest, but he did not fall. His wolf shadow rose fully beside him for the first time, massive and black, its wound still glowing, its body still marked by frozen pain, but no longer crawling. It looked at Mara. The silver light between them returned, quiet and waiting. Mara did not step into it. The wolf did not move closer. That restraint made the bridge glow warmer. Alaris smiled faintly. "Good." Illyra screamed then, not in pain yet, but in fury. She tore one hand free from the guards and reached toward the suspended needles. "If the rites are suspended, the packs will tear themselves apart. I will seal them again myself." The needles answered her, not as tools, as witnesses. They spun toward Illyra and stopped in a ring around her body. Each needle opened, revealing the frozen moment it carried. Wolves stabbed into silence. Mates dragged apart. Children sealed scentless. Servants erased from court records. Ronan's wolf pierced before Mara. Varel wearing the lock as a Luna mark. The sky ledger burned her name brighter. Illyra Frostmere. Frostbond severance. Scent erasure. Unauthorized Luna substitution. Blood ice law alteration. Royal wolf imprisonment. The needles lowered. One by one, they wrapped around her in red-white light, not stabbing, not killing, but binding her in the testimony she had tried to bury. Her priestess robes froze stiff. Her staff cracked and spilled tiny red shards across the snow. Ronan looked at the guards. "Take her to the lower court. She will name every priestess, pack lord, and council seal tied to the punishment vault." Illyra's voice came thin through the frost. "You need me to control what wakes." Mara looked at the frozen wolves beneath the bridge. Some were pressing their paws to the ice. Some were weeping silver light. Some were only watching, too afraid to hope. "No," Mara said. "We need you alive to tell us what you did." Death would have made Illyra clean in memory. Witness would not. Varel sank to her knees at the cliff's edge, her pale cloak spread around her like broken snow. Ronan turned to her. She flinched before he spoke. "Lady Varel Frostmere," he said, "your Luna claim is void." Her face crumpled. The words were not shouted. That made them worse. "You will testify," he continued. "You will name when you knew my wolf had chosen elsewhere, who gave you the needle, and every rite used to make your mark appear approved." Varel's lips trembled. "And after?" Ronan looked to Mara, not because he needed permission to rule, because the wound had not been his alone. Mara took one breath. The old version of herself might have wanted Varel thrown onto the bridge and made to feel every crack she had ignored. But the bridge under Mara's feet had taught her something harder than revenge. Truth first. Choice after. "After," Mara said. "You live without the mark they gave you, and learn who you are when no wolf is forced to look your way." Varel bowed her head. It was not forgiveness. It was consequence. The blood ice bridge slowly dimmed beneath the court, but not beneath Mara. Around her feet, the red ice remained warm, holding the shape of her bloody footprints without shame. Alaris stepped closer, her shadow made of moonlight and red frost. "You are Mara Veyne," she said. The name moved through the ravine. Mara felt it enter her without erasing the life she had survived under. Mara Veyne, Mara Veyne, Scentless girl, blood ice air. None of those names could own her alone. She looked at Ronan. His wolf stood beside him now, free enough to rise, wounded enough to remember. The silver light between them still waited at her feet. The court waited too, hungry for a shape they could understand. A true Luna. A new mate claim. A crown repaired by romance. A scentless girl elevated neatly so everyone could go home pretending the system had only made one mistake. Mara would not give them that comfort. She lifted her chin. "My name is Mara Veyne," she said, then paused as the bridge warmed. "And Mara Veyne, last blood, ice air. My scent was sealed. My name was buried. The king's wolf was frozen because it found me before your court gave permission." Every wolf in the ravine lowered its head. Not commanded, recognizing. "But I will not become your proof that the old law can be fixed by choosing a new Luna before noon." Ronan's eyes softened with something like pain and pride together. Mara turned toward him fully. "Your wolf is free to choose. So am I." He bowed his head. "Not as king to subject. Not as man claiming mate. As someone accepting the cost of truth. I will not ask you to stand beside me because they forced you onto a bridge," he said. "I will not turn what was stolen into a ceremony before you have even learned your own scent." Her throat tightened. He continued, voice rougher now. "I ask only to walk back with you, if you allow it." The simplicity nearly broke her. Mara looked at his offered hand, then at the blood ice bridge behind her, filled with frozen wolves waiting for witness. At Alaris, fading but smiling. At Alira, bound by testimony. At Varel, kneeling without stolen certainty. At the court that had brought her there, expecting absence and found a name instead. She did not take Ronan's hand yet, but she stepped beside him. "That is enough for Dawn," she said. Ronan lowered his hand without offense. "Then Dawn will learn patience." Together, they walked back across the blood ice bridge. This time, it did not crack beneath him. Ronan's wolf shadow walked at his side, limping but upright. It did not press against Mara. It did not claim her path. It only matched her pace. Silver eyes lowered in witness to every bloody footprint she left behind. Below the ice, the frozen wolves remained awake, waiting, not forgotten, not freed too quickly, but no longer alone. When Mara reached the cliff, no one touched her chains. Ronan broke the frost links from her wrists himself, then stepped back before the last piece fell. The broken chain hit the snow. The sound was small. The ravine heard it anyway. The sky ledger faded into the dawn, leaving its names burned faintly across the bridge surface, where no priestess could scrape them away. The punishment vault remained open under guard. The suspended needles drifted down into a circle of red-white light, each one waiting to be named before it could be unwound. Alaris's shadow stood at the heart of the bridge one last time. "Witness first," she whispered. Mara answered, "Choice after." The first sunlight touched the moon gorge. The blood ice bridge, once red as punishment, shone clear beneath the frost, its veins no longer like trapped blood but like a living heart, slowly learning how to beat without chains. And Mara Veyne, the girl brought there because she had no scent, walked away with winter, blood, pine smoke, and moonlit iron rising from her skin, while every wolf in the northern packs finally knew she had never been empty.